Nothing had prepared him for the terror of offering his heart to someone who saw him only as the help. He knocked. 3 sharp raps that sounded too loud in the quiet corridor. The door swung open, and there she was. Sophia Williams stood framed in the doorway, her silk robe shimmering in the light from her apartment. Her dark skin glowed like polished mahogany, her hair styled in perfect waves that cascaded over her shoulders. She was on her phone, as always, but when she saw him standing there in his faded delivery uniform, clutching a bouquet of roses, her eyes widened. "Are you serious right now?" The words cut through the air like a blade. Victor's throat tightened, but he forced himself to speak. "Sophia, I know this might seem forward, but I think you're amazing. You're beautiful, you're intelligent, and every time I see you, I can't help but—" "Stop." She held up one perfectly manicured hand, her phone forgotten for the moment. "Just stop talking." She looked him up and down with an expression that made Victor feel like something she had found stuck to her shoe. "Do you even know who I am? Do you know what I'm worth? I know you work in finance. I know you're driven and successful. And you think that matters?" Sophia laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You think because you know a few basic facts about me, you have a chance? Let me make this very clear for you." She stepped closer, and Victor could smell her expensive perfume. "I date CEOs. I date entrepreneurs. Men who drive Range Rovers and own properties in Ikoyi. Men who can afford to take me to Dubai for the weekend without checking their bank balance first." Victor felt the blood rushing to his face, but he stood his ground. "Money isn't everything." "Yes, it is." Sophia's voice rose sharply. "This is Lagos, not some fairy tale. Money is everything. Do you know where I'd be if I accepted dates from every broke delivery boy who thought I was pretty? I'd be stuck in some one-room apartment in Mushin, cooking on a kerosene stove and trekking to work because we couldn't afford fuel. I would never—" "You would never what?" "Be able to give me the life I deserve." She gestured at his motorcycle helmet tucked under his arm, at his worn uniform with someone else's company logo stitched across the chest. "Look at yourself. You deliver packages on a motorcycle. You probably share a room with 3 other guys. You eat rice and stew from a roadside buka because that's all you can afford. And you actually think, that you're good enough for me." The words hit Victor like physical blows. He had known rejection before, had been told no in business deals and personal matters alike, but never with such venom. Never with such calculated cruelty. "I just thought." "That's your problem. You thought." Sophia's eyes were cold now, all traces of surprise replaced with disgust. "Let me save you some time and dignity. You're not in my league. You will never be in my league. I don't care how nice you think you are, or how much you smile at me when you deliver packages. I don't date down. I don't settle. And I certainly don't waste my time with people who can barely afford to fix their motorcycles." Victor's hands tightened around the stems of the roses. The thorns bit into his palms through the paper wrapping, but the physical pain was nothing compared to the humiliation burning through him. "I understand," he said quietly, his voice barely above a whisper. "I'm sorry for bothering you. You should be." Sophia started to close the door, then paused. "And do me a favor? Don't come back here anymore unless you're delivering something I actually ordered. Your little crush is pathetic, and frankly, it's making me uncomfortable." The door slammed shut with such force that the number 12 rattled on its mounting. Victor stood there, frozen, still holding the roses that suddenly felt impossibly heavy in his hands. From inside the apartment, he could hear raised voices. "Hey guys, before we continue with this story, if you're enjoying it so far, please hit that like button, drop a comment below telling us what you think, and subscribe to the channel because it really helps us grow and continue making these kinds of videos for you. Your support means everything. Now, let's get back to the story. "Sophia, that was cruel." It was Emma's voice, muffled but clearly angry. Emma Peterson, Sophia's roommate, the quiet nurse who always smiled at Victor and offered him cold water on hot days. "Cruel? I was being honest." Sophia's voice carried easily through the door. "These poor men need to know their place, Emma. I did him a favor by being clear. You humiliated him. Oh, please, don't tell me you're going to defend some random dispatch writer. This is Lagos. If you don't have money, you don't matter. That's just reality, and the sooner people like him accept it, the better. Not everyone values money over basic human decency, Sophia. Then not everyone is going to succeed in this city. Look, I know you have your whole everyone deserves kindness nursing philosophy, But in the real world, we have to be practical. That boy was dreaming way above his station. Someone had to wake him up. Victor didn't wait to hear more. He turned and walked down the hallway, his footsteps echoing off the marble floors of the expensive building. The security guard at the entrance nodded at him sympathetically, had probably seen the whole thing through the building's camera system. Victor nodded back, unable to trust his voice, and stepped out into the heavy Lagos evening air. His motorcycle sat where he had left it, suddenly looking more battered than he remembered. He strapped on his helmet, shoved the roses into the storage compartment, and kicked the engine to life. The familiar rumble usually brought him comfort, but tonight it just reminded him of everything Sophia had said. That he was poor, that he was nothing, that he would never be good enough. As Victor merged into the chaotic traffic of Victoria Island, navigating between Danfos and luxury cars, he allowed himself a bitter smile. If only she knew. If only Sophia Williams, with her designer handbags and her contempt for the poor, knew that the man she had just humiliated was Victor Adeyemi, heir to Adeyemi Global Enterprises, one of the largest conglomerates in Nigeria. His family's net worth had more zeros than Sophia would see in her lifetime. But that was exactly why he had started this experiment 6 months ago. He had grown tired of the superficiality of his social circle, tired of never knowing if people liked him or his bank account. So he had taken a leave from the family business, telling his parents he needed to find himself, and had gotten a job as a dispatch rider under a false name. He wanted to experience real life, real Lagos, away from the bubble of wealth and privilege he had been born into. And he had wanted to find real love. Someone who would see him, not his money. Someone who would value his character, his humor, his dreams, not his ability to buy them designer shoes or take them on expensive vacations. He had thought Sophia might be that person. He had been so wrong. 2 days passed before Victor returned to that building, and only because he had a legitimate delivery for apartment 8F. He had considered refusing the job, asking one of his colleagues to take it, but that would have raised questions he wasn't ready to answer. Besides, Victor Adeyemi didn't run from challenges. He faced them head-on, whether in a boardroom or on a motorcycle. He parked his bike and grabbed the package, a heavy box that felt like electronics. As he entered the lobby, he saw her. Emma Peterson sat on one of the leather couches near the entrance, still wearing her nurse's scrubs, a book open in her lap. When she saw him, she stood immediately. "Victor, right?" Her voice was gentle, apologetic. He stopped, surprised. "Yes. How did you?" "I asked the building manager for your name." Emma walked toward him, her expression pained. "I needed to find you. I'm so sorry about what happened the other day." "Sophia, she can be." Emma paused, searching for the right word. "She can be difficult." "It's fine," Victor said automatically, the lie tasting bitter on his tongue. She was honest. "I appreciate that. Honest doesn't have to mean cruel." Emma's brown eyes were warm, sincere. "What she said to you was wrong. The way she spoke to you was wrong. You deserved better than that." Victor found himself studying Emma properly for the first time. He had seen her before, of course, dozens of times during his deliveries. She was always kind, always smiling, but he had been so focused on Sophia that he had never really looked at her. Emma was beautiful in a completely different way from her roommate. Where Sophia was all sharp edges and calculated glamour, Emma had a softness to her, a genuineness that showed in every expression. "Thank you," he said, meaning it. "That's kind of you to say." "It's not kind, it's true." Emma hesitated, then continued. "Look, I know this might seem strange, but would you like to grab some lunch? My treat. Consider it an apology on behalf of my roommate, even though she should be the one apologizing." Victor's first instinct was to refuse. He didn't need anyone's pity, but something in Emma's expression stopped him. This wasn't pity. This was genuine kindness, the kind he had been searching for in all the wrong places. "I can't let you pay," he heard himself saying. "But I'd love the company." They ended up at a small restaurant 3 blocks away, the kind of place that served generous portions of jollof rice and chicken at prices that wouldn't break a delivery rider's budget. Victor had eaten at Michelin-starred restaurants across the world, had dinner with presidents and business moguls, but he couldn't remember the last time a meal had felt this comfortable. "So," Emma said, spearing a piece of chicken with her fork, "how long have you been doing delivery work?" "About 6 months," Victor answered truthfully. "It's not what I plan to do with my life, but sometimes plans change." "Tell me about it." Emma laughed softly. "I wanted to be a doctor, actually. studied for years, did well in school. But when my parents died, I had to take care of my younger siblings. Nursing paid better, had more flexible hours. Sometimes life takes you in unexpected directions. I'm sorry about your parents. Thank you. It was a long time ago. Emma's smile was sad but genuine. But my siblings are doing well now. My brother just got into university. My sister is in secondary school. They're good kids. You raised them? Someone had to. She shrugged like it was nothing, like sacrificing her own dreams for her family was the most natural thing in the world. Family is everything, you know? Money comes and goes, but the people who love you, who stand by you when things get hard, that's what matters. Victor felt something shift in his chest. Here was someone who actually understood what mattered in life. Someone who had faced hardship and come out of it with compassion instead of bitterness. They talked for 2 hours. Emma told him about her work at the hospital, about the patients who touched her heart, about the challenges of healthcare in Lagos. She asked about his life, genuinely interested in his thoughts on books, music, his dreams for the future. Not once did she ask about his finances or his prospects. She just wanted to know him. Can I be honest with you? Emma asked as they finished eating. Please. When I first saw you with those flowers, standing at our door, my heart broke a little. She looked down at her hands. Not because Sophia rejected you, but because I knew she would, and I knew exactly how she'd do it. She's my friend, and I love her, but she's completely obsessed with money and status. She doesn't see people anymore. She just sees price tags and opportunities. And you? Victor asked quietly. What do you see? Emma met his eyes. I see a man who worked hard all day and still spent his money on flowers for someone he cared about. I see someone who was brave enough to put his heart on the line, even knowing he might get rejected. I see someone who treats people with respect, who smiles at the security guard and thanks the waitress. She reached across the table, her hand hovering near his. I see you, Victor, and I think you're pretty wonderful. Victor felt his throat tighten with emotion. This was what he had been searching for. This genuine connection, this seeing and being seen. He took Emma's hand, her fingers warm in his. Can I see you again? He asked. I'd like that very much. Over the next few weeks, Victor and Emma fell into an easy rhythm. Coffee before her nursing shifts, where she'd arrive bleary-eyed but smiling. Late-night phone calls after his deliveries ended, where they'd talk about everything and nothing until one of them fell asleep. Long walks along Bar Beach on her days off, where the Lagos sunset painted the sky in shades of orange and gold. Victor had dated before, had relationships with women who knew exactly who he was and what he was worth. But nothing had ever felt like this. Emma didn't care that he showed up on a motorcycle instead of in a Mercedes. She didn't mind eating street food or sitting on a bench by the beach instead of dining at expensive restaurants. She just enjoyed being with him. You know what I love about you? Emma said one evening as they walked along the beach, their shoes dangling from their hands. You're so present. When you're with me, you're actually with me. Not on your phone, not thinking about other things. Just here. That's because being with you is the best part of my day, Victor admitted. Emma stopped walking and turned to face him. The setting sun haloed her hair, and Victor thought he had never seen anyone more beautiful. Victor, I need to tell you something. His heart skipped. What is it? I'm falling for you. The words came out in a rush, like she was afraid if she didn't say them quickly, she'd lose her nerve. I know we haven't known each other that long, and I know things are complicated, but I can't help it. You make me happy in a way I didn't know I could be happy. Victor pulled her close, his hands framing her face. I'm falling for you too, Emma. Have been since that first lunch. Their first kiss tasted like salt air and hope. When they finally pulled apart, both breathless and smiling, Victor knew he had found something real. Something worth more than all his family's wealth combined. But he also knew he couldn't keep his secret forever. Emma deserved the truth. Just not yet. He needed to be absolutely certain that what they had was genuine, that she loved him and not what he could give her. After a lifetime of people wanting him for his money, he needed to be sure. The next morning, Victor woke to 17 missed calls from his mother and a text that simply read, "We need to talk about the business. This vacation of yours has gone on long enough." He sighed, knowing the conversation was coming. His family had been patient, had given him the space he asked for, but they wouldn't wait forever. Adeyemi Global Enterprises needed its heir, and Victor knew his responsibilities. But first, he had a delivery to make. And maybe, if he was lucky, he'd see Emma. What Victor didn't expect was to find Sophia standing in the building lobby when he arrived, her arms crossed and her expression thunderous. "So it's true," she said coldly. "You and Emma." Victor kept his expression neutral. "I don't see how that's any of your business. She's my roommate. That makes it my business." Sophia stepped closer, her designer heels clicking on the marble floor. "I want to know what your game is." "My game? Don't play dumb with me." Sophia's perfectly glossed lips curled into a sneer. "You show up here with flowers for me, get rejected, and suddenly you're dating my roommate? What is this, some kind of revenge plot? Get back at me by using Emma?" Victor felt anger rise in his chest, hot and sharp. "You think very highly of yourself if you believe everything I do revolves around you. Then what is it? You expect me to believe you actually have feelings for her?" Sophia laughed, the sound harsh in the quiet lobby. "Please. Emma is sweet, I'll give her that, but she's boring. She works herself to death at that hospital, comes home smelling like disinfectant, and spends her weekends visiting her siblings. She has no ambition, no fire. She's nothing like me." "You're right," Victor said quietly. "She's nothing like you. She's kind. She's genuine. She sees people as human beings, not as stepping stones or accessories. And yes, I have feelings for her. Real feelings." Sophia's eyes narrowed. "You're serious?" "Completely. Then you're an even bigger fool than I thought." Sophia moved closer, her voice dropping to something almost pitying. "Let me tell you how this ends, Victor. You'll date her for a few months, maybe a year if you're really committed to this little fantasy. But eventually, reality will hit. You won't be able to afford the life she deserves. You'll watch her work double shifts at the hospital because nurses don't make enough. You'll see her exhausted, stressed, struggling. And you'll realize that love doesn't pay rent. Love doesn't put food on the table. Love doesn't buy medicine when someone gets sick. Love is enough when it's real," Victor said. Said by someone who's never had to choose between love and survival. Sophia shook her head. "I almost feel sorry for both of you. Emma's a dreamer, always has been. She actually believes in all that fairy tale nonsense about finding someone who loves you for who you are. But you know what reality taught me? People who believe in fairy tales end up disappointed. They end up old and bitter and wondering why life didn't work out the way the movies promised." "Is that what you're afraid of?" Victor asked. "Ending up disappointed?" Something flickered across Sophia's face, too quick to identify. "I'm not afraid of anything. I'm practical. I know what I want, and I go after it. I date men who can give me the life I've worked hard for, men who understand that success and ambition matter. I don't waste time with delivery riders who think a bunch of roses and a nice smile are enough." "Then why do you care who Emma dates?" "Because she's my friend, and I don't want to see her hurt." But even as Sophia said it, Victor could hear the hollowness in her words. "When this crashes and burns, and it will, I'll be the one picking up the pieces. I'll be the one listening to her cry about how love wasn't enough after all." "Maybe it won't crash and burn," Victor said. "Maybe some people actually do find happiness." Sophia's laugh was bitter. "Keep telling yourself that." She started to walk away, then paused. "Just do me a favor. When you break her heart, do it quickly. Don't drag it out. Emma deserves at least that much." Victor watched her disappear into the elevator, her words echoing in his mind. He understood Sophia better now. She wasn't just cruel. She was scared. Scared that her worldview might be wrong, that all her careful calculations and strategic dating might lead nowhere. It was easier to mock love than to risk it. His phone buzzed. A text from Emma. "Coffee before my shift? I have news." Victor smiled, Sophia's words already fading. Whatever news Emma had, whatever happened next, he knew one thing with certainty. What he felt for Emma was real, and that was worth more than Sophia would ever understand. 3 months passed like a beautiful dream. Victor and Emma's relationship deepened, growing roots that felt unshakable. But living with Sophia became increasingly difficult for Emma. The mockery was constant, relentless. "Oh look, the lovebirds are back from another romantic motorcycle ride," Sophia would say, her voice dripping with sarcasm as Emma came home windblown and happy. "Did you stop for suya? Or was that too expensive? Maybe you just shared one stick between you." Emma tried to ignore it, but Victor could see the toll it took. One evening, he arrived to pick her up for dinner and overheard another argument through the apartment door. "When are you going to wake up, Emma?" Sophia's voice was sharp. "It's been 3 months. 3 months of what? Cheap dates and false promises? What's your future with this man? Where do you see this going? I see it going toward happiness, Emma replied, her voice steady but tired. Something you wouldn't understand. Happiness doesn't pay your nursing school loans, Emma. Happiness doesn't save for retirement or handle emergencies. You're 28 years old. You should be thinking practically about your future, not playing house with someone who delivers packages for a living. Victor is kind, intelligent, and treats me better than any man ever has. That matters to me. Of course it matters to you now, while everything is still new and exciting. But what about in 5 years? 10 years? When you're still renting because you can't afford a down payment on a house? When you can't help your siblings because you're barely making ends meet yourself? When you watch all your friends living comfortable lives while you're struggling? There was a long pause. Victor held his breath, waiting for Emma's response. I would rather struggle with someone who loves me than live comfortably with someone who sees me as a trophy, Emma said quietly. And if you can't understand that, Sophia, then I feel sorry for you. I really do. Don't you dare pity me, Sophia hissed. I'll be just fine. I'll be the one living in a penthouse in Banana Island while you're still splitting rent on this apartment. I'll be the one traveling the world while you're taking staycations because that's all you can afford. And when you finally realize I was right, don't come crying to me. Victor knocked then, unable to listen anymore. Emma opened the door, her eyes slightly red but her smile genuine when she saw him. Ready? He asked softly. More than ready. She grabbed her purse and gave Sophia one last look. I'll be back late. Don't wait up. Sophia stood in the middle of their living room, arms crossed, watching them leave. You'll regret this, Emma. Mark my words. But Emma just took Victor's hand and walked out, leaving Sophia alone with her certainty and her bitterness. That night, over a simple dinner of fried rice and chicken at a local spot, Victor made a decision. 6 months had passed since he started this experiment. 6 months of living as someone else, of experiencing life without the weight of his family name. And in that time, he had found exactly what he was looking for. Emma loved him. Not Victor Adeyemi, billionaire heir. Just Victor, the man who brought her coffee exactly how she liked it and remembered the names of her siblings. The man who listened when she talked about her difficult days at work and made her laugh until her sides hurt. The man who saw her, really saw her, the way she saw him. It was time to tell her the truth. Emma, he began, reaching across the table to take her hand. There's something I need to tell you. Something important. She looked concerned immediately. What is it? Is everything okay? Everything is perfect, actually. That's part of what I need to explain. He took a deep breath. But not here. Not like this. I want to do this properly. You're scaring me a little, Emma said with a nervous laugh. Don't be scared. I promise, it's nothing bad. Actually, I think it's going to be pretty amazing. He squeezed her hand. Do you trust me? Of course I trust you. Then trust me when I say that next weekend, I want to take you somewhere special. Where something nice. Really nice. Emma raised an eyebrow. Victor, you know I'm not big on fancy places. I know, but humor me this once. Please. She studied his face, trying to read what was happening behind his eyes. Finally, she nodded. Okay, something nice. I can do that. What Victor didn't tell her was that something nice was already taken care of. The next day, during his lunch break from deliveries, he visited one of Lagos's most exclusive boutiques, a place he had been to many times before in his other life. The staff recognized him immediately, despite the delivery uniform. Mr. Adeyemi, the manager said warmly. What a pleasant surprise. How can we help you today? I need a gown, Victor said. Something elegant but not ostentatious. For someone with warm brown skin, about this tall. He gestured. Someone beautiful who has no idea how beautiful she is. The manager smiled knowingly. I have just the thing. 2 days later, a courier delivered a large box to Emma's apartment. Inside was a floor-length gown in deep emerald green, with delicate beading that caught the light. The accompanying shoes and clutch matched perfectly. The note tucked inside reads simply, For the most beautiful woman I know. Wear this for me. V. Emma called him immediately, her voice breathless. Victor, I can't accept this. This must have cost. Don't worry about the cost, he interrupted gently. But Victor, this is too much. The dress alone looks like it costs more than my monthly salary. Where did you even get the money for something like this? Victor smiled, even though she couldn't see him. I've been saving. And before you argue, Just know that seeing you in that dress will be worth every naira. Please, Emma, let me do this for you." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. "You're sure about this?" "I've never been more sure of anything." "Okay," she said softly. "Okay, thank you. This is the most thoughtful thing anyone has ever done for me." If only she knew, Victor thought. If only she knew that this dress, expensive as it was, represented a tiny fraction of what he could give her. But she would know soon enough. Saturday evening arrived with typical Lagos humidity, the air thick and warm. Victor had arranged for a Mercedes to pick up Emma, telling the driver to treat her like royalty. He himself had gone home to his real apartment in Ikoyi, the penthouse he hadn't seen in months, and prepared for the evening that would change everything. As he stood in front of his mirror, adjusting his bow tie, his phone rang. His mother. "Victor, darling, are you sure about tonight?" Margaret Adeyemi's voice was warm but concerned. "Bringing her to the charity gala, revealing everything at once? It's quite dramatic. She deserves dramatic, Mom. She deserves everything. I'm not questioning your feelings, sweetheart. I'm just worried about the shock. You've been lying to this girl for 6 months." "I haven't been lying," Victor protested. "I just haven't told her everything." "A lie of omission is still a lie, Victor." His mother sighed. "But I trust your judgment. Your father and I are excited to meet her. From everything you've told us, she sounds wonderful." "She is, Mom. She really is." "Then we'll see you at the Eco Hotel." "And Victor? Good luck." Meanwhile, across the city, Emma stood in front of her bedroom mirror, barely recognizing herself. The emerald gown fit perfectly, hugging her curves before flowing gracefully to the floor. The shoes made her legs look longer, more elegant. She had swept her hair up into a sophisticated bun, leaving a few tendrils to frame her face. "Wow," Sophia said from the doorway, and for once, there was no mockery in her voice. Just genuine surprise. "You look incredible." "Thank you," Emma said, still staring at her reflection. "I feel like I'm playing dress up. Where did Victor get the money for all this?" Sophia walked into the room, touching the fabric of the dress. "This is designer, Emma. Real designer. Not some knockoff from Balagan Market. He said he's been saving." Sophia's expression shifted, something calculating entering her eyes. "Saving his delivery money? For months? Just to buy you a dress?" She shook her head. "That doesn't add up. Maybe he just wanted to do something special for me. Or maybe," Sophia said slowly, "there's something about Victor you don't know." Emma turned to face her roommate. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that dispatch riders don't save enough money to buy Vera Wang gowns and send Mercedes to pick up their girlfriends. I'm saying something doesn't add up here, and you should be careful." "Careful of what?" "That he might care about me enough to splurge. Careful that this might all be some kind of game." Sophia's voice softened slightly. "Emma, I know you think I'm just being mean about Victor because I don't approve. But what if there's more to this story? What if he's not who he says he is?" Emma felt a flutter of uncertainty in her stomach, but she pushed it away. "Victor has never lied to me." "Has he told you everything, though? Have you asked?" Before Emma could respond, her phone buzzed. The car was waiting downstairs. "I have to go," Emma said, grabbing the clutch that came with the dress. "Emma, wait." Sophia caught her arm. "Just be careful, okay? I know we don't see eye to eye on a lot of things, but I do care about you. You're my friend. And if something seems too good to be true, it usually is." Emma pulled her arm free gently. "Not everything in life is a trick or a scheme, Sophia. Sometimes good things just happen. Maybe you should try believing in that sometime." She left Sophia standing in the bedroom, staring after her with an expression that was hard to read. The Mercedes glided through Lagos traffic with the kind of smooth efficiency that came from having a professional driver who knew every shortcut in the city. Emma sat in the back, her hands clasped nervously in her lap, watching the city lights blur past the tinted windows. They drove through Victoria Island, past Ikoyi, and finally pulled up to the Eco Hotel. Emma's breath caught. She had passed this hotel hundreds of times, but had never been inside. The entrance was lit up like something from a movie, with red carpet and photographers, and women in gowns that probably cost more than her annual salary. "Miss Peterson?" The driver opened her door, offering his hand. "Welcome to the Eco Hotel." Emma stepped out, feeling every eye turn toward her. The cameras flashed, and she heard murmurs from the crowd. Who was she? Was she someone famous? The attention made her skin prickle with nervousness. A hotel staff member appeared at her elbow. "Miss Peterson, If you'll follow me, please. Mr. Adeyemi is waiting for you in the grand ballroom. Mr. Adeyemi? Emma's confusion deepened. Had Victor made the reservation under a different name? But she followed the staff member through the opulent lobby, her heels clicking on marble floors that probably cost more to install than her entire apartment. The grand ballroom doors opened, and Emma's world tilted on its axis. The room was magnificent. Crystal chandeliers hung from soaring ceilings, casting prisms of light across hundreds of elegantly dressed guests. A live orchestra played soft classical music. Waiters circulated with champagne and canapes. This wasn't just dinner. This was a gala, the kind of event she had only ever seen in magazines. And there, standing near the center of the room in a perfectly tailored tuxedo that made him look like he had stepped out of a fashion magazine, was Victor. But not the Victor she knew. This Victor stood with the confidence of someone completely at home in this world of wealth and power. His hair was professionally styled, his posture relaxed but commanding. He was surrounded by people, important-looking people in expensive suits and designer gowns, and they were all listening to him with the kind of attention people reserved for someone significant. Emma stood frozen in the doorway, trying to make sense of what she was seeing. Then Victor looked up and saw her. His entire face transformed, lighting up with a smile so genuine and full of love that it cut through all her confusion. He excused himself from his conversation and walked toward her, and Emma noticed that people moved aside for him. Not just politely, but deferentially, like he was someone who mattered. Someone important. Emma, he said when he reached her, taking her hands in his. You look absolutely breathtaking. Victor, what is this? What's going on? Her voice came out smaller than she intended. Who are all these people? Come with me, he said gently. Let's go somewhere we can talk privately. He led her to a quieter corner of the ballroom, near floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the Lagos skyline. The city spread out below them like a carpet of lights, beautiful and vast, and suddenly very intimidating. I need to tell you something, Victor began, his hand still holding hers. Something I should have told you months ago. Emma's heart hammered in her chest. Sophia's warnings echoed in her mind. You're scaring me. Don't be scared. Please. Victor took a deep breath. My full name is Victor Adeyemi. I'm the heir to Adeyemi Global Enterprises. My family owns one of the largest business conglomerates in Nigeria. Hotels, manufacturing, real estate, shipping. We're worth billions. Emma stared at him, the words not quite making sense. But you're a dispatch writer. I was pretending to be a dispatch writer, Victor said quietly. 6 months ago, I was tired of the superficiality of my life. Tired of never knowing if people liked me or just what I could give them. So I took a leave from the family business and got a job delivering packages. I wanted to experience real life, meet real people. I wanted to find someone who would love me for who I am, not what I have. Emma pulled her hands free, stepping back. Her mind was racing, trying to reconcile the man she knew with this stranger in a tuxedo. You lied to me. I never lied. I just didn't tell you everything. That's the same thing, Victor. Her voice rose slightly, and a few nearby guests glanced over. She lowered it again, but the hurt remained. For 6 months, I thought you were struggling just like me. I worried about you working long hours. I felt guilty when you spent money on me because I thought you could barely afford it. And all this time you were what? Playing poor? Slumming it with the regular people? No, Emma, it wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Tears pricked her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Not here, not in front of all these people. It was about finding something real, Victor said urgently, his voice thick with emotion. Emma, please try to understand. I've been lied to, used, and manipulated my entire adult life by people who only saw my bank account. Women who pretended to love me, but really loved what I could buy them. Friends who weren't really friends at all, just people who wanted access to my connections and my money. I was drowning in superficiality, and I needed to know that somewhere in this city, there was someone who could see me. Just me. So you tested me? Emma's voice broke. You set up some elaborate experiment to see if I would pass? No, it wasn't a test. I wasn't looking for anyone when I started this. I just wanted freedom, authenticity. And then I met you, and everything changed. Victor reached for her hands again, but she pulled away. That first day, when Sophia slammed the door in my face, I was humiliated. I was ready to give up on the whole thing, go back to my real life. But then you came and apologized for her cruelty. You saw my hurt and cared about it. Not because you wanted something from me, but because that's who you are. Emma wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly cold despite the warm room. Every conversation we had, every moment we shared, you were lying. I wasn't lying about my feelings, Victor insisted, his voice desperate now. Everything I told you about who I am, what I believe in, what matters to me, that was all true. The only thing I didn't tell you was about the money. And I needed to be sure, Emma. I needed to know that what we had was real. And now you know? She looked at him, this stranger in expensive clothes surrounded by wealth and privilege. Congratulations, Victor. Your experiment was a success. The poor nurse fell in love with you without knowing you were rich. You must be very pleased with yourself. That's not fair. Fair. Emma laughed, but it came out more like a sob. You want to talk about fair? I shared everything with you, Victor. Everything. My fears, my dreams, my struggles. I told you about my parents dying, about raising my siblings, about every doubt and insecurity I had. I was completely vulnerable with you while you were holding back the biggest part of who you are. And you're telling me that's fair? Victor's face crumpled. You're right. You're absolutely right. I should have told you sooner. I was going to tell you so many times, but I was afraid. Afraid that once you knew, everything would change. That you'd look at me differently, treat me differently. And I couldn't bear to lose what we had. You've lost it anyway, Emma whispered. Because I don't know who you are anymore. The man I fell in love with was kind and humble and understood what it meant to struggle. But looking at you now, in this tuxedo, in this world, she gestured at the opulent ballroom. I don't know this person. I'm the same person, Emma. The same man who brought you coffee every morning, who walked with you on the beach, who listened to your stories about work and made you laugh when you were sad. The money doesn't change who I am inside, but it changes everything else. Emma's voice was steadier now, though the pain still showed in her eyes. Don't you see? Every memory I have with you is tainted now. Every time you told me not to worry about money, every time I felt guilty about you spending on me, every time I tried to pay for things because I thought we were equals, it was all based on a lie. It was based on love, Victor said desperately. Emma, I love you. That's the truest thing I've ever known. Rich or poor, in that uniform or this tuxedo, my heart is the same. You're the one who taught me that. You said you see me, remember? You said you loved me for who I am, not what I could provide. Did you mean that? Emma stood silent for a long moment, tears finally spilling down her cheeks. I did mean it. I do mean it. But you have to understand, Victor, trust is everything to me. After my parents died, after I had to become an adult overnight and take care of my siblings, I learned that I could only count on people who were honest with me. People who showed me who they really were. And you didn't do that. I'm doing it now, Victor said softly. I'm showing you everything. This is me, Emma. All of me. The delivery rider and the billionaire. The man who loves street food and the man who was raised in mansions. I'm both of those people, and I need you to see that they're not contradictions. They're just different parts of the same person. Before Emma could respond, an elegant older woman in a stunning gold gown approached them. Victor, darling, you must introduce me to your guest. Victor straightened, his public persona sliding into place even as his eyes remained locked on Emma. Mom, this is Emma Peterson. Emma, this is my mother, Margaret Adeyemi. Margaret's smile was warm and genuine. Emma, I've heard so much about you. My son hasn't stopped talking about you for months. It's wonderful to finally meet the woman who's captured his heart. Emma wiped at her tears quickly, trying to compose herself. Mrs. Adeyemi, it's nice to meet you. I'm sorry, I'm just a bit overwhelmed by all of this. Of course you are, dear. Victor has a flair for the dramatic. Margaret shot her son a look that was both loving and exasperated. Though I did tell him that perhaps the charity gala wasn't the best place for such a significant revelation. I wanted her to see everything at once, Victor said. No more half-truths or omissions. Well, you've certainly accomplished that. Margaret turned back to Emma, her expression kind. My dear, I know this must be very confusing for you, but I want you to know that everything Victor has told us about you has been wonderful. The way you care for your siblings, your dedication to your patients, your kindness and strength. He admires you deeply. And from what I can see, for good reason. Emma felt fresh tears threatening. Thank you, Mrs. Adeyemi. That's very kind of you to say. It's not kindness, it's truth. Now, I'll leave you two to talk. But Emma, I do hope we'll have the chance to speak more this evening. I'd love to hear about your work at the hospital. Margaret squeezed Emma's hand gently before walking away. Emma turned back to Victor, her emotions a tangled mess of hurt, love, confusion, and something she couldn't quite name. Your mother seems lovely. She is. And she's not just being polite. She really does want to get to know you. Victor moved a little closer. Emma, I know I've hurt you. I know I've broken your trust. And I know that's not something that can be fixed with an apology or an explanation. But I'm asking you, please, give me a chance to prove that everything between us was real. Give us a chance. Emma looked around the ballroom, at the wealth and privilege on display, then back at Victor. She thought about Sophia's warnings, about how she'd been right that something didn't add up. But she also thought about the last 6 months, about the man who had held her when she cried about a patient she couldn't save, who had learned her siblings' names and asked about them every day, who had made her feel seen and valued in ways no one else ever had. I don't know if I can do this, she said honestly. Your world and my world, they're so different, Victor. She gestured at the gala. This isn't me. I'm a nurse from a modest background who takes the bus to work and saves for months to buy new shoes. I don't belong here. You belong wherever you choose to be, Victor said firmly. And I belong wherever you are. If you want nothing to do with this world, with the galas and the society events, then we won't do them. If you want to keep living your life exactly as you have been, working at the hospital and taking the bus, I'll take the bus with you. The money doesn't matter to me, Emma. You do. The money doesn't matter to you because you've always had it, Emma said gently. But it matters to people like me, Victor. It matters because it represents security and opportunity and the ability to help the people we love. You say it doesn't change who you are, but it changes everything about how you move through the world. Then teach me, Victor pleaded. Teach me to see it the way you do. Help me understand. But please, don't walk away from us because I was afraid of losing you. Emma closed her eyes, overwhelmed by everything. When she opened them again, she saw Victor watching her with such raw vulnerability that it hurt to look at him. This was the man she loved, she realized. Whether he wore a delivery uniform or a tuxedo, whether he rode a motorcycle or had a driver, this was still Victor. The man who saw her, really saw her, in ways that had nothing to do with appearances or status. I need time, she said finally. I need time to process all of this, to figure out what it means and whether I can trust you again. Can you give me that? Victor's face showed his disappointment, but he nodded. Take all the time you need. I'll wait, Emma. I'll wait as long as it takes. Thank you. The next few weeks were torture for both of them. Emma threw herself into her work at the hospital, taking extra shifts to avoid thinking about Victor. But he was everywhere in her thoughts. When she made coffee in the morning, she remembered how he took his 2 sugars, light cream. When she walked past the beach, she remembered their sunset conversations. When her younger brother called to tell her about his university classes, she remembered how Victor had always asked about him, genuinely interested in a kid he'd never met. Victor, meanwhile, had returned to his life at Adeyemi Global Enterprises, but nothing felt right anymore. Business meetings that once energized him now felt hollow. His luxury penthouse felt cold and empty. He'd gotten used to Emma's warmth, her laughter, the way she made even the smallest moments feel meaningful. Sophia watched Emma's heartbreak with a mixture of vindication and concern. I told you something was off about him, she said one evening as Emma sat on their couch, staring blankly at the television. You were right, Emma admitted quietly. He wasn't who I thought he was. So what are you going to do? Emma turned to look at her roommate. What do you mean? I mean, are you going to forgive him? Sophia's voice was uncharacteristically gentle. Are you going to give him another chance? I don't know. How do I trust him again, Sophia? How do I know that everything between us wasn't just some game to him? Sophia was quiet for a moment, then said something that surprised Emma. You know, I've been thinking about that day he came to the door with those flowers. About how cruel I was to him. Sophia. No, let me finish. Sophia sat down beside Emma. I was cruel because I genuinely believed that money was all that mattered. That people without money weren't worth my time. And when I found out who Victor really was, you know what my first thought was? Emma shook her head. I thought, that should have been me. If I'd just been nicer to him, if I'd given him a chance, I could be the one dating a billionaire right now. Sophia's voice was bitter. And that thought made me realize how shallow I've become. How empty my life is despite all my focus on money and status. Emma reached over and took her friend's hand. Sophia, you're not empty. Aren't I though? Look at you. You're heartbroken right now, but you have something I've never had. You have real love. Victor didn't choose you because of your money or your connections or what you could do for him. He chose you because of who you are. And even now, even hurt and confused, you're trying to figure out if you can make it work. Because you love him too. I do love him, Emma whispered. But I'm so scared, Sophia. What if I forgive him and he hurts me again? What if I can't fit into his world? What if you let fear rob you of the best thing that ever happened to you? Sophia interrupted. Emma, I've spent my whole life playing it safe, making calculated decisions about who to date and who to dismiss. And where has it gotten me? Alone in an expensive apartment with nothing but my pride to keep me company. Emma squeezed her friend's hand. You'll find someone, Sophia. Maybe, but that's not the point. The point is that you've already found someone. Someone who loves you enough to wait while you figure things out. Someone who, despite his deception, has shown you more genuine care and respect than most people ever experience. Are you really going to throw that away because he was scared of being used for his money? Before Emma could respond, her phone rang. It was Victor. She stared at his name on the screen, her heart racing. Answer it, Sophia urged. At least hear what he has to say. Emma took a deep breath and answered. Hello, Emma. Victor's voice was rough, like he hadn't slept in days. I know you said you needed time, and I'm trying to respect that. But something's happened, and I need to see you. Please. What's wrong? Are you okay? I'm fine. But can you meet me? At our spot on the beach. Emma checked the time. It was almost 9 at night. Now. Please, Emma. It's important. Something in his voice made her say yes. 20 minutes later, she was walking along Bar Beach, the sand cool beneath her feet, looking for Victor. She found him sitting on their usual bench, silhouetted against the moonlit ocean. Victor. She approached cautiously. He stood immediately, and in the moonlight, she could see his face was haggard, his eyes red-rimmed. Thank you for coming. I wasn't sure you would. You said it was important. It is. Emma, I need to tell you something, and I need you to just listen. Can you do that? She nodded and sat down on the bench. Victor sat beside her, careful to leave space between them. These past few weeks without you have been the worst of my life, he began. I've tried to go back to my old life, to pretend that I'm fine, but I'm not fine. I'm miserable, because I realized something important. That life, the one with all the money and the prestige and the power, it's meaningless without you in it. Victor, please, let me finish. He took a shaky breath. You were right about everything. I should have told you the truth from the beginning. I should have trusted that what we had was strong enough to survive the revelation. But I was a coward. I'd been hurt so many times before that I couldn't see what was right in front of me. Someone who would have loved me regardless of my bank account. Emma felt tears sliding down her cheeks. I did love you. I do love you. But love isn't enough if there's no trust. I know. And that's why I'm here to tell you that I'm done with the lies and omissions. I want complete honesty between us, even if it's painful. So I need to tell you something else. Emma's stomach clenched. What? Sophia came to see me last week. Emma's eyes widened. What? Why didn't she tell me? Because I asked her not to. She wanted to apologize for how she treated me that day with the flowers. But more than that, she wanted to make sure I understood what I had with you. She told me that if I let you go because I was too proud to fight for you, I was the biggest fool in Lagos. Despite everything, Emma felt a smile tug at her lips. She said that. She did. And she was right. Emma, I'm not asking you to forgive me right away. I'm not asking you to forget what I did. But I am asking you to give us another chance. Let me prove to you that I can be the man you deserve. Let me show you that my love for you is real, whether I'm wearing a delivery uniform or a tuxedo. Emma looked out at the ocean, watching the waves crash against the shore. She thought about everything that had happened, about the pain and the confusion and the love that still lived in her heart despite it all. I'm scared, she admitted finally. So am I, Victor said. I'm terrified of losing you. But I'm more terrified of not trying. Of letting fear win. Emma turned to face him, really looking at him for the first time since the gala. And what she saw wasn't a billionaire or a delivery rider. She saw Victor. Just Victor. The man who made her laugh, who listened to her dreams, who saw her as more than just a nurse or a caretaker or someone's sister. He saw her as Emma. Complete and whole and worthy of love. Okay, she said softly. Victor's eyes widened. Okay, Okay, let's try. But Victor, I need you to promise me something. No more secrets. No more omissions. If we're going to do this, we do it with complete honesty, even when it's hard. I promise, Victor said immediately, reaching for her hands. Complete honesty. Always. And I need you to understand that I'm not going to change who I am just because you have money. I'm still going to work at the hospital. I'm still going to take the bus when I want to. I'm still going to be me. I don't want you to change, Victor said fiercely. I fell in love with you exactly as you are. Emma smiled, and for the first time in weeks, it felt genuine. Then I guess we're doing this. Victor pulled her into his arms, and Emma let herself sink into his embrace. It felt like coming home. 6 months later, Victor proposed properly, on that same beach, with a ring that was beautiful but not ostentatious. Emma said yes, without hesitation. They were married in a small ceremony surrounded by the people who mattered most: Emma's siblings, Victor's parents, close friends, and yes, even Sophia, who had become a better friend than Emma ever expected. But their happiness was about to face its darkest test. Sophia watched the wedding photos flood her social media feed, each image a knife twisting in her chest. Emma in a simple but elegant white dress, radiant with happiness. Victor looking at his bride like she was the only person in the world. The caption read, "Today I married my best friend, the woman who saw me when I was invisible to everyone else." That should have been her. Those flowers Victor brought that day were meant to lead to this. This life, this wealth, this future, it was all supposed to be hers. And Emma, sweet, naive Emma, had stolen it all. The thought consumed Sophia day and night. She couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't focus on anything but the injustice of it all. Her friends noticed her obsession, tried to tell her to move on, but they didn't understand. How could they? They hadn't been humiliated like she had. They hadn't watched their roommate live the fairy tale that should have been theirs. 3 months after the wedding, Sophia made a decision. If she couldn't have Victor, then Emma wouldn't either. Through her work in finance, Sophia had connections to people who operated in Lagos' shadows. Money launderers, fraudsters, and worse. She reached out to a contact who connected her with 3 men who did special jobs for the right price. Their leader was a hardened criminal named Tund, flanked by 2 younger guys, one named James, the other Michael. They met in a dimly lit bar in Aja, far from Sophia's usual haunts in Victoria Island. The place smelled of stale beer and cigarette smoke, and Sophia felt distinctly out of place in her designer clothes. But desperation had brought her here, and desperation made people do things they never thought possible. "I need someone taken care of," Sophia said, sliding a photograph of Emma across the sticky table. "Permanently. But it needs to look like a robbery gone wrong." Tund picked up the photo, studying it with cold, professional eyes. "This will cost you. Half up front, half when the job is done." "Money isn't a problem." Sophia pushed an envelope thick with cash across the table. "That's 2 million naira. You'll get another 2 million when she's gone. Consider it done." Tund pocketed the envelope. "We'll need her schedule, her routes, when she's most vulnerable." Sophia provided everything: Emma's nursing shifts, the route she took home, the days she visited her siblings. She had lived with Emma for years. She knew every detail of her routine. But as Tund and James discussed logistics, Michael sat quietly, staring at Emma's photograph. Something about her face was familiar, very familiar. Then it hit him like a physical blow, and his blood ran cold. 3 years ago, Michael had been riding a motorcycle when a car ran a red light and hit him. He'd been rushed to the hospital with a broken leg, cracked ribs, and no money to pay for treatment. He'd been terrified, certain he'd be turned away or worse, arrested for the outstanding warrants he had. The nurse who treated him had been kind beyond measure. She'd stayed hours past her shift to ensure he was stable. When she learned he couldn't pay, she'd quietly covered some of his bills from her own pocket and connected him with a charity organization that took care of the rest. "Everyone deserves care," she told him simply. "Don't worry about the money. Just focus on healing." Her name had been Emma Peterson, and she'd saved his life. Now, sitting in this bar, Michael stared at that same face in the photograph. The woman this cold, bitter lady wanted dead was the angel who'd given him a second chance. After the meeting ended, Michael pulled Tund aside in the parking lot. "We can't do this job." Tund frowned. "Why not? The money's good. That woman, Emma, she saved my life 3 years ago. She's a nurse at the hospital where I was taken after my accident. She paid my bills when I had nothing. She asked for nothing in return. Michael's voice shook. I owe her my life, Tund. I can't kill her. I won't. Tund studied his friend's face. They'd been running together for 5 years, and he'd never seen Michael like this. What do you want to do? We tell her. We tell the police. We do the right thing for once in our miserable lives. James, who had been listening, nodded slowly. That Sophia woman is crazy. Did you see her eyes? This isn't business for her. It's personal. She's unstable. Jobs like this always go wrong. After a tense discussion, the 3 men agreed. For once, they would do the right thing. The next morning, Michael called the hospital and asked to speak with Emma Peterson. When Emma came to the phone, he said, Miss Peterson, you don't remember me, but 3 years ago you saved my life after a motorcycle accident. I need to meet with you urgently. Your life is in danger. Emma, cautious but remembering the incident, agreed to meet in a public place. When Michael explained everything, Sophia's plot, the money, the planned murder, Emma felt the world tilt beneath her feet. Sophia wants me dead? She could barely process the words. Because of Victor? I'm sorry, Michael said, genuine remorse in his voice. But I couldn't let it happen. Not after what you did for me. You showed me kindness when I deserved nothing. Now I'm trying to save your life the way you saved mine. Emma immediately called Victor, who arrived within minutes, his face white with fury and fear. Together, they went to the police with Michael, Tund, and James as witnesses. The recorded phone conversations between Sophia and the criminals, combined with the money trail and testimony from all 3 men, provided overwhelming evidence. When the police arrived at Sophia's apartment that evening, she was packing a bag, perhaps sensing that her plan had fallen apart. Sophia Williams, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, the lead detective announced. Sophia's face went through a rapid series of emotions: shock, fear, denial, and finally, rage. As they handcuffed her, she started screaming. Emma, this is a mistake. Tell them. We're friends. I would never hurt you. But Emma stood beside Victor in the doorway, tears streaming down her face. We were friends, Sophia. I trusted you. I lived with you. And you tried to have me killed because of jealousy? He was supposed to be mine. Sophia shrieked, all pretense of innocence gone. Those flowers were for me. That life was supposed to be mine. You stole everything from me. He was never yours, Emma said quietly, her voice breaking. And he never would have been. Because you don't know how to love anyone but yourself. The trial was swift. The evidence was irrefutable. Tund, Michael, and James testified in exchange for reduced sentences and immunity. Sophia's own recorded words sealed her fate. 20 years in Kirikiri maximum security prison, the judge announced. As they led Sophia away, she looked back one final time at Emma and Victor sitting in the courtroom, hand in hand. The life she had destroyed through her own bitterness and greed flashed before her eyes. The moment she slammed the door on Victor's flowers, the countless times she mocked Emma's happiness, the decision to choose murder over accepting her own mistakes. In prison, Sophia had nothing but time to think about that day. If she had just accepted those flowers. If she had looked past the delivery uniform and seen the man beneath. If she had valued character over cash, kindness over status. But she had made her choices, and now she would live with the consequences. Meanwhile, Emma and Victor built a beautiful life together. 5 years after Sophia's conviction, they had 2 children and ran a foundation dedicated to helping struggling healthcare workers and supporting victims of violent crime. Emma still worked part-time as a nurse because she loved helping people. Victor still rode motorcycles occasionally for the freedom of it. Michael, clean and sober, worked an honest job that Victor had helped him secure. He visited the Adeyemi family often, grateful for the second chance that Emma's kindness had given him. And Sophia? She was released after 15 years for good behavior. But the world had moved on. Victor and Emma were happy, successful, living the life they had built on a foundation of genuine love and trust. Sophia emerged from prison with nothing but regrets and the bitter knowledge that her own cruelty had destroyed everything. The story of the billionaire dispatch rider and the nurse with a golden heart became legendary in Lagos. It wasn't just a story about love or revenge. It was a reminder that how you treat people when you think they have nothing reveals everything about who you really are. That real wealth isn't measured in bank accounts, but in the content of your character and the love you give and receive. That kindness always comes back around, sometimes to save your life, sometimes to enrich it beyond measure. Emma taught Victor to see beyond privilege. Victor taught Emma that love doesn't keep score. Together, they proved that when two people truly see each other, really see each other for who they are inside, nothing else matters. Not money, not status, not the opinions of others. In the end, Sophia's greatest mistake wasn't rejecting Victor. It was never learning that the most valuable things in life can't be bought, sold, or stolen. They can only be given freely and received with an open heart. Thank you so much for watching this story. We hope it reminded you to look beyond appearances, to value character over possessions, and to treat everyone with dignity and respect, because you never know who that person might be or how your kindness might change both of your lives forever. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear it, leave a comment telling us what you thought, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories. Your support helps us continue creating content that matters. Until next time, remember, be kind, be genuine, and never judge a book by its cover. God bless you all.